Hi, my name is Najiha binti Abdul Aziz. My ID number is BDB2207090. I will talk about history of Coca-Cola, invention and early days. Coca-Cola was invented by John Stith Pemberton, a pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1886. Initially marketed as medicinal tonic, it was originally called Pemberton's French wine coca. Local businessman Frank M. Robinson coined the term Coca-Cola and drew the script logo that is being used today. In 1892, a group of businessmen led by S. Chandler purchased the rights to Coca-Cola and established the Coca-Cola Company.
My name is Nabiha Faris. My ID number is BDB2207023. I'm going to talk about the beginning of Coca-Cola. On May 8, 8086, Dr. John Pemberton brought his perfected syrup to Jacob Pharmacy in downtown Atlanta, where the first glass of Coca-Cola was poured. Serving about 9 drinks per day in the first year, Coca-Cola was an exciting new drink in the beginning. Furthermore, I will explain about the technology of Coca-Cola operation. Coca-Cola makes extensive use of AI in its marketing, collecting and analyzing vast amount of data about its various brands and products. Coca-Cola uses big data analytics and AI algorithm in its vending machine to interact with customers. Coca-Cola uses AI algorithm on social media to understand when, where and how customers consume product and infer the quality of individual product by location. Next, is about what we can learn from the case study. What we can learn from the case study is about cultural variance, which country with higher score on both uncertainty, avoidance, and power distance tended to have lower tolerance for crisis. In contrast, countries scoring low on this cultural dimension were less responsive and in the early stage of the crisis. A variety of key stakeholders require Coca-Cola attention, including consumer, government leaders, and shareholders. The second point is about competitive and regulatory challenge by Coca-Cola Company. Coca-Cola faced competitive and regulatory challenge in Europe, particularly in its effort to acquire local soft drink companies. It also pointed out the Coca-Cola international expansion was affected by the slump in the global market in the late 1990s. Coca-Cola global operations include bottling and distribution operations, most of which owned and operated by local independent businessmen. This local ownership is aimed at strengthening relationship with local media and the public. The last point is about power distance of Coca-Cola Company. In the international businesses context, power levels vary across societies and influence the role of power distance professionals and society acceptance of inequality. Countries with high power distance are likely to distrust powerful institutions such as government agencies, multinational corporations, and well-known family businesses. Ethical concerns related to power distance and awareness of ethical issues are also raised.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Hilda Jasmine binti Ahmad Kuzazi. My ID number is BDB2207083. Professional public relations have both possibility and challenge as a result of globalization. Professional public relations may have the chance to lead their organization through period of change. An organization can establish new ties in global environment with the aid of the public relations function, since it builds, modifies, and maintains relationship with the public. Even so, issues still remain. A range of cultural and societal influence the ways in which organizations can effectively interact with global audience. The communication between multinational organizations and the public in the host country will be impacted by this cultural and societal difference. Let me continue with the next justification, which is the tempting crisis. The crisis explained about the Coca-Cola Company that didn't want to be responsible for what happened. Spain and France accused Coca-Cola for selling tainted products. This can result in discontent between countries, and this kind of crisis is dangerous for both country and company because it can harm their both safety and company reputation. When a company faces this situation, they need to be level and help in solving the problems to ensure their products will still be accepted in other countries. For example, if your company reputation is bad, the other countries will judge you badly for not being capable to solve an issue and will make them feel disadvantaged in compare with your company. The other justification is importance of proactive crisis management. Coca-Cola's career in Europe highlighted the needs for a company to prepare and be responsible in handling crises. By having a well-developed management plan in addressing issues, companies can minimize impact of their reputation and sustain trust with the audience. As you can see, the case study mentioned that the Coca-Cola did not accept any responsibility for the incident in the first place, and the organization even suggested that the people who had fallen ill were part of a mass hysteria. This case shows that Coca-Cola doesn't have a good management in handling the threatening crisis risks that happen. Thus, they must learn how to be responsible, even if it's not their fault, because it will show how the company handled their reputation effectively. Moreover, by saying that a cultural have a mass hysteria is not a good manners as a popular company. But for solving the crisis issue, Coca-Cola already agreed to take back the contaminated water and offered a free can of Coke to win their customer loyalty. This is the best example of what they should have done in the first place. The third one is significance of transparency and open communication. The first one is to be important to be honest, transparent and providing timely updates. The second one is address concern, alleviate fears and maintaining positive relationship. For this part, as you know, the Coca-Cola have a cultural norms of an American multinational organization that could meet the needs of Sweden, Norwegian and Danish publics, but not for French, Belgian and Spanish publics. This was happened because of the variables of cultural, which is uncertainty avoidance and power distance that are very important for communication. The cultural dimension really helps a lot for arrange dynamics of the organization. What can we understand is cultural variables of Western European affect the attitude to crisis because it's not the same with American cultural norms. This will lead to lack of understanding of both international publics. Last but not least is about the need for effective stakeholder management. Activities involved in concern of various stakeholders that can better navigate crisis. When a company faces this kind of crisis, the most important thing is to have the greatest leader to make everything run smoothly. This can be achieved by having effective stakeholders that can help the company in managing the hard situation by giving orders in what and how to handle a crisis. Without a great leaders, the company will have problem in success the plan. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Avril. My ID number is BDB2207007. So today I'm going to present about the impact of cultural variability based on Hofstede framework. But before that, what is cultural variability? In sociology, cultural variability refers to the diverse expression of cultural elements within a single cultural group. So, based on Hofstede framework, first we have uncertainty avoidance. What uncertainty avoidance means? It reflects the extent to which a culture is compatible with ambiguity, uncertainty, and risk. For high uncertainty avoidance countries such as Belgium, Spain, and France, based on the article, for example, when the Coca-Cola tainting scare occurred, this nation had a lower tolerance for the crisis and their government took immediate and strict actions. For example, consumers stopped buying Coca-Cola product, and the government also penalized Coca-Cola for not taking responsibility. And for low uncertainty avoidance countries such as Sweden, Norway, Denmark, this country more exhibit more patience and willingness to wait for conclusive evidence before taking drastic actions. They were less inclined to ban Coca-Cola product outright and were more willing to accept Coca-Cola explanations. Second cultural availability is power distance. Power distance is perceived degree of inequality among people. Based on the article, high power distance countries such as Belgium, France, and Spain, there is a greater distrust of those in power, including multinational corporations such as Coca-Cola. The delay in Coca-Cola response, especially the CEO absence, led to criticism and a loss of trust in these nations. And for the low power distance countries such as Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, this may have contributed to this country being more receptive to Coca-Cola explanation and less likely to take drastic measure against the company. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
How it affects public responses to crisis. Uncertainty avoidance. This dimension refers to how culture cope with the ambiguity and risk. In the high uncertainty avoidance culture, people set rules, rituals, and law to guide their behavior and have a lower tolerance for crisis situation. In contrast, low uncertainty avoidance culture may not view isolated incidents as constituting a crisis and may do little to communicate about the situation. The level of uncertainty avoidance in a culture can influence how the public perceive and respond to a crisis. Next, power distance. This dimension explains how culture deals with inequality and conflict. In the high power distance culture, there is a significant gap between those in power and the general public, and people tend to respect and defer to authority figures. In such culture, the public may expect organizations to communicate directly with government during a crisis to secure their support. On the other hand, in the low power distance culture, there is a less emphasis on hierarchy, and organizations may not see a need to communicate with local government during a crisis.
My name is Karantasha binti Muhammad Ashri and my ID number is PDB2207017. I'm going to present about the rational decision making model. And the first step is identify the problem. In this case, the problem was toxic crisis. Coca-Cola may have become aware of this issue when the report of product contamination or contamination surfaced, perhaps to the customer complaint, media coverage, or internal quality control measure. The second step is establish decision criteria. To overcome the crisis, Coca-Cola needed to establish decision-making criteria and considered various alternatives to deal with this crisis, including issuing a public apology, compensating affected consumer, launching new advertisement campaign, improving quality control and communication system, and cooperating with government authority and health expert. The third step for this rational decision-making model is weight decision criteria. Companies would have to assign weight to each consideration based on its importance, such as feasibility, effectiveness, cost, and potential impact. For example, public safety and brand reputation may carry more weight compared to the others factor. Additionally, the pros and cons of each option were weighed in terms of alignment with the company's value and goals.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Najiha binti Abdul Aziz. My ID number is PDB2207090. For the fourth step in rational decision-making model, which is generate alternative, Coca-Cola companies need to develop alternative to their decision on how to solve the problem. This includes a systematic approach to coming up with different possible solutions or courses of action. By ranking them according to their ability to meet their decision criteria, companies have many options of strategies for solving the toxic crisis. For example, Coca-Cola implement immediate product recall, public announcement, and investigation on their products. For the fifth step, which is evaluate alternative. In this step, Coca-Cola need to evaluate each solution that has been listed up. By evaluating each alternative, Coca-Cola can identify which options equally feasible or some unrealistic or impossible. As example, for the first option is immediate product recall, which is if there is concrete evidence that a batch or certain products are contaminated or toxic, Coca-Cola should immediately recall those products from the market. The recall should be widespread and transparent. Second option is public announcement, where the company should issue a public statement acknowledging the issue, confirming the recall, and expressing concern for consumer safety. This statement should be released through various media channels to reach a wide audience. Third option is investigation. Internally, Coca-Cola should conduct a thorough investigation to determine the source of the contamination and the extent of the problem. This may involve working closely with relevant regulatory agencies. The last step, which is select the best alternative. This step is the final decision which can help Coca-Cola make the best solution. It clearly states the decision so as to avoid confusion or uncertainty. The answer might be one of the specific options that were originally suggested, a modified version of one of those possibilities, or a combination of various elements from other recommendations. It's also feasible that the evaluation procedure will yield a completely original answer. For example, Coca-Cola select the best alternative by doing immediate product recall, then they need to rebuilding trust, which work on rebuilding trust with consumers through sustained efforts to ensure product safety, transparency, and responsiveness to concerns.